How's it going, guys? Nicholas Marson here. I want to thank you for joining in to our first ever devlog. As you can see, I am at home as I am social distancing away from the office, but today we're going to have a lot of fun. And as always, if you're interested in the project, we do have a Patreon open. So if you're interested, you can support our game. You'll get early access to content before anybody else. You'll be able to play public demos, and some tiers, you get the game as well. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. So let's take a look at our combat system. So what we've done is we have individual animations for attacks. So this is one particular attack, and then you have another particular attack, right, and et cetera, et cetera. What we did before, and it turned out not to work, was we put all of the attack animations in one, and you had these event notifies. So you would have to press the button at these event notifies for the combo to continue. It made the character feel disconnected and not in control. It sort of made the character feel like they were in a quick time event and not actually in control of the actual combat. And if you're far away from the enemy, we make the character go closer to the enemy. So we bring them closer. We set its relative location to the location of the enemy, or a little bit forward to it, so to bring you a little bit closer, help you out there. And then we also check if you're already in the air. If you're already in the air, then you're able to do an air attack, and we'll show you what that looks like. And then we have different sounds and physics effects and et cetera, et cetera. So let's take a look at what this looks like in practice. So we have our enemy here. That's the air attack, as you can see. And when the enemy is killed, we sort of slow down time a little bit. You can see there how the character is going forward towards the enemy. This guy here got a little stuck. Ooh, Shahi. So here we are back in the Sanjali village, and as you can see, it looks a lot more full. Some of those temp assets has been replaced with all new assets. We have NPCs starting to walk around here. We'll talk more about that in a different video. And yeah, the area is just starting to get a lot more full. If you can listen in the background, there's sound effects now, feet sound effects, particle fog on the floor. So this is how the NPCs are walking around. As you can see, we have a nav mesh all on the floor. And the NPCs are able to walk around anywhere. You see this green line here. And they're free to walk anywhere they want. And we have what are called these different workspaces here. And each workspace, as you can see here, is the Beast Tamer workspace. They have an amount of workers that can come here and how long they can be here. And those NPCs can choose to go to any of these different workspaces and just check in to see what's going on in that space. So these particular NPCs here are guards. So they're just looking around to make sure that nothing bad is going on in those different workspaces. So the different guards have temp dialogue provided by myself. Once we get an actual voice actor, we'll go ahead and fill these in. But as you can see, very simple. You have these different wave players here, and they all go into this random modulator, and it can choose which one it wants to play. So if I press play.
Hello there. Get out my way. Move. Causing trouble. Hey. Now go be down. Hello, Jahi.
Etc. etc. So if you go next to one of these different Sanjali guards, they're going to get one of these random ones, so it doesn't sound the same every time you talk to one particular guard.
Hi there, my name is Tyler Coe. I am one of the animators on Songwoven. One of the things that has me excited about this game is it is one of the first projects working on animation outside of college, but it's also a game. In the background you will see a squat that I have been prototyping, which is one of the idols that will play randomly when your character stands still for too long. One of the key things to animation is not only making your character move, but giving them personality. For this instance, you have Willow, and this stance that I tried making her have for her neutral idol makes her seem a little bit powerful. I could push the pose even further, and I just might. These animations are prototypes and are just my tests for the characters. Here I want to make sure my poses align with my reference, but my reference is not holding my pose back. I push where I can and I exaggerate where I can, and if I didn't act correctly, as I am currently not the best actor, you'll see me making my own pose, but making sure it's strong. And this is the perspective pose. This is with a few in-betweens added, so now I've added a few in-between poses. You'll see it starting to look a little bit better. And then I just smooth it out and play with the curves.
Hi there everyone, my name is Tomas. I'm the lead writer here at Project Songwoven. For my part of the devlog, I'd like to dedicate some time just talking about video game development from a writing perspective, just in terms of what writers can do before or after they have ideas for a video game, what we can achieve as writers in video games, and what sort of work we can do either before or after having a team that translates into the smooth development of that video game and makes everything more organized. Video games are a storytelling format just like novels, movies, or plays. As such, video games follow the most basic storytelling structure, the 5 stages of plot. Any story must have a beginning where you introduce characters, setting, and the conflict, called exposition, a middle portion where the conflict worsens, the characters grow, and tensions build, this is called the rising action, and finally, the ending portion, which is made up of the climax, the falling action, and resolution. And lastly, a stage showing the aftermath from the confrontation. What does the world look like after the villain is defeated? For any story, the rising action, the middle portion, is the most time-consuming and the meatiest stage. In video games, this is especially true. The exposition is covered in the opening cutscenes and tutorials. The ending is covered by the final boss battle and aftermath cutscenes. That leaves the entirety of gameplay taking place during rising action, the middle portion. The amazing part about storytelling through video games is that you have a limited agency over how the audience experiences plot. Sure, they have to go through the expositional cutscenes and eventually arrive at the final boss for the climax, but the rest of the story's order can be decided by the player. Depending on the gameplay, they could even try and skip through all of rising action and arrive directly at the climax. Songwoven, like many other stories that are told through video games, is of the adventure genre. All adventures tend to follow in some sort of way Joseph Campbell's A Hero's Journey. It's a story circle that begins with the main character leaving an ordinary world which is in peril, and ends with him or her returning to save this world after having trained and grown in a new world. For Songwoven, we have 2 main characters, Jahi and Willow. Jahi will follow a classic hero's journey, whereas Willow's journey will be turned on its head. So let's take a brief look at Jahi's journey since it's the most straightforward and classic. The beginning and ending usually take place in the same setting. In this case, the most important aspect of the setting will be emotional or thematic. Jahi is born into a world of balance and harmony living in Twakeli village, our starting setting, physical setting. One day, adventure forces him to leave his village and face a new world. After living in this new world, he will realize that the place he once knew to be harmonious was actually imbalanced all along. After rising action, he will return to his home to face the final villain and restore balance. A hero's rising action takes up most of his or her time in the new world. Jahi will learn through this new world that Mala is imbalanced and broken. His journey will be about bringing that balance back. Rising action itself follows a cycle that the player may enter at any point and repeat as many times as they like. At this point, the player will be able to attempt the road back, which will lead them to the climax. The road back, in terms of gameplay, should be one of the most difficult quest lines in order to discourage players from attempting it too soon and skipping through all of rising action and going straight into the climax. If gameplay forces a player into situations without context, the experience can easily become mechanical and just about pressing the right button at the right time. Plot structures immerse players into their own hero's journey, and gameplay gives them a sense of control over this journey. Planning out the hero's journey for Jahi and Willow has been essential for Songwoven, especially given that their journeys are almost opposing each other at times. Most important is the effect that it has on gameplay. Knowing the general structure of the story we want to tell cascades down and starts affecting finer details. How do we want players to feel, and at what point? What distinctive gameplay features will help players feel like the characters? Our writers and programmers have been working very closely throughout these past 6 months so that the storytelling and gameplay support each other. Many plot aspects have manifested into gameplay features, just like a lot of gameplay has been embedded into plot in the form of messages, themes, and conflicts.
There you go, guys. I hope that was informative and interesting, and I hope you guys like all that information. As always, you can please leave us some suggestions down below. We've got lots of comments last time, and some of those comments are actually going to be implemented in the game. So if you have some ideas for features, please let us know down below. And as always, Nago Bidalo, our hearts are woven.